Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. I
Hi.
had to put on a jacket. I was all of a sudden so cold. I'm fasting today, and sometimes when you're fasting, you just all of a sudden become very cold. And I was just before the meeting, but good to see everyone. I hope that you've had a fabulous weekend and that April is developing nicely for all of you. Now it's about finishing the month, and I picked today's subject to be grit. And I've been talking about that all day. So if you were to the director call, you've most definitely heard some of it. I won't bore you by repeating everything, but I'm going to give my angle on it because I saw it just a very short from a psychologist, little video clip where she said that the difference between those that become very successful and those that get average results or no results, I don't know really what she said. I focused on the successful ones, is that they've got grit. They've got the ability to focus on a long-term plan, a long-term vision, and then finish that long-term goal. So there is an enormous amount of people that just give up too early. And that's kind of like in a lot of different areas in our life, we just give up a little bit too early. I once did a speech on the same subject where I talked about pushing the trolley to the top of the hill. And if you let go of it too early, it will roll back down. And I think that that analogy is a beautiful one because a lot of you have started an investment plan. How many with show of hands have ever started an investment plan? Well, all of us did it as young and then pushed it to the top of the hill, and then it didn't make it all the way to the top very often, and then it comes rolling back down again. Thomas, do you have all your Zinzinon shares? I haven't asked you for forever. You have all of them? Didn't sell off any? Then Thomas is now a pretty rich man. Are you? You're a pretty rich man now? How many shares did you have?
A bit over 50,000.
Bit over 50,000. You see, I said he's a pretty rich man. If he's got 50,000 shares, he's done well for himself. And I think you were buying them early on, weren't you? You were buying the cheapest ones at a couple of kroners?
Well, I think it was 165 or something like that.
165. So you've had a 100 times return on the best investment. Now, he is one that got rich around Thomas. I know at least 20 people that bought shares about the same time. How many of them would you guys guess would have their portfolio today? My guess is Thomas. There might be one or two more, but most likely, no, around Thomas. So Daniel, you were not around Thomas, so you have your shares. So there is many other people that have shares, but in his community, where he was to the events that he went to, the people in his downline, people in his upline, around that, most of them didn't have grit. So they say, life is unfair. I'm never getting the results. I never got rich. I was in Zinzinon, but I never. But the truth was that everything was paved out for them if they would have kept on doing the same activity for a little bit longer time. And there is a bunch of those. There is a lot of those. I mean, in Zinzinon, just because of our shares have gone up so much, there is literally over 1,000 people that let go of the cart and let it roll down back to the bottom of the valley, or whatever we should say. My whiteboard. I usually draw it on a whiteboard, to the bottom of my whiteboard. Now, if we take Thomas, since he's been very successful at this, Thomas was once upon a time a top recruiter in Zinzinon. Do you remember that, Thomas? And then you built very fast and hit diamond. Remember that? And you went to I remember the trip where I think we were standing outside somewhere in not Burj Khalifa, but in the next to Dubai, we had what's the name of the place we went to, Thomas?
I forgot it, but I remember the place and what
Yeah,
the
we
trip
were at
was
the
like.
Hilton
Yeah.
Resort, I think it was. Do you remember, Daniel? 2009, Thomas Tiedlund met Donna Johnson on that resort, and they later on got married and is
That
living.
was in 2011.
No, I think was it 11? Was it? I think it was 9.
2011. 2009 was Thailand. 2010 was Mexico, and 2011 was Dubai.
Yeah, that might be. So 2011. You were there, Thomas. Were you? You weren't on any of the trips before, were you?
No.
No. So there, Thomas said, "I will build this big." And we did for a while, and he is still here, still got chance to pick up the wagon again to push it to the top of the hill. And the point is that there is a lot of people on this Zoom. Some are brand new, but Christopher, he pushed it up for a bit, correct, Christopher? And then he let go of it, and the wagon came back down the hill again. And Jonathan pushed it up for a while, and then it came back down the hill again. And Kurt pushed it up for a while, correct, Kurt? And then it came back down again. And grit is the ability to stay doing the same thing that you promised yourself when things get tough, so that you don't go back down the hill again. You continue no matter what to push the cart to the top of the hill. So if you promise to sponsor 10 people a year, you sponsor 10 people a year, even when you feel like there is no progress year after year after year after year, because it's the grit activity, which a very small percentage has, that gets you to the top of the hill. And then some people ask me, when can you let go of the cart? Well, it depends a little bit on what the exercise is. But if you talk about building the business in Zinzinon, when you have a black crown and a black crown, you can most likely let go of the cart and it will not come back down the hill again. So you got to push it all the way to the top of the hill till you have people that are more eager to push the cart up their own hill than what you are. Then you can let go of the cart and it will not come back down the hill. Øystein, I mentioned this earlier today for those that have seen me before. He mentioned this at the last event. He said that after about 20 years, if average leaders are still leading, he actually talked about churches. Said if there is an average leader of a church after about 20 years, if they just get to continue to lead after 20 years, they become great leaders and they usually build some fantastic mega churches. And then looked over at me and Doug and said, you guys are celebrating your 20th anniversary. And I was kind of laughing and said, so us average leaders are now getting to 20 years. So it's hope for us. Zinzinon can become that great company because now us average people become great people. Because when you keep on pushing the cart up the hill, so just imagine that. So you don't have any great years, but every year you just push it a little bit higher up the hill. Eventually, you are going to be so far up the hill that it looks like you're a great leader. Because so many else let go of their cart that maybe were going faster in the beginning, and then eventually you look great. And then when you look great, and sometimes you are great as well, and I would say all of you guys have it in you to become great. When you see that cart up there, then people are gonna flock to it. People are wanting to be a part of it. So when our shares were trading at 165, when Thomas was buying, not very many people wanted to be buying Zinzinon shares. That was like only a very scary exercise. I remember my parents, they were not interested in buying Zinzinon shares back when it was 165. They had no interest. They were just hoping that Zinzinon would survive so that Orion and Hilde would still have an income, still having a business, so we wouldn't be too disappointed. Truth, that's truth. That's the true story. And my father, he discovered that he should have bought some shares earlier when the shares was like 7, 8 kroners. And my brother bought some at 125. And no, the 20,000 kroners my brother put in at 125 at 8, that was like a couple of 100,000. No, my father went, well, his little son that didn't have very much money all of a sudden had a pretty good chunk of money. So that's when my father got some shares, and then they didn't buy as much as they wanted to, but then it became 40 kroners, and at 40 kroners they thought, well, no, we should really buy some shares. And eventually somewhere around 40, 50 kroners was when they bought a lot of shares, and today they have as much as Thomas. So the cart became visible enough for my parents to see it. And then they wanted to be a part of it because we became visible. Today, Zinzinon is, I think, in the Swedish stock market, Scandinavian stock market, kind of, but in the global stock market of network marketing companies, we are the most visible cart. And that's one of the reasons why the share is very successful these days, is that there is global buyers for a very small little company because they know network marketing, they know what Hilda and myself have been doing. They heard about Dag and that he is leading this profitable company while everyone else is losing. And now all of a sudden it's visible. So when you keep pushing your cart up the hill, Taiwo, if it's getting to top team 500 or if it's building to diamond, doesn't really matter. It's about becoming visible at what you do. At one point, people go, I want to be a part of that. So if Thomas gets back in, he commits, well, maybe I can't do 10 because I'm part-time, but I'm going to do 5 recruits every year. When you keep on doing that year over year over year over year, your cart is going to be visible and people will flock to you. So that's great. Nothing fun with grit, just hard work. And the more time you've done the hard work, the more years you've done the hard work, the more fun it looks. It's like with exercise, you know. It's everyone wants to be fit. Everyone wants to look like Daniel when they take their shirt off, at least the men. The women should not want to look like that. But we want to look like that. It's just it takes years and 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 years in the gym, or not in the gym for Daniel, but with whatever exercise he is doing. And that's when you see a runner run. It looks fun. They run so fast, they run so easily, and it looks like they're not stressed at all. I've given the example of when Dr. Colin is having the 10K. Daniel was running that 10K. You remember that. We were running next to each other. And then he comes running up to us. Then he turns and we're running up a hill. And you weren't that tired. But if you tried to run Dr. Colin's way, even Daniel would be very tired. He turns around, runs backwards with us up the hill. And then it says, I got to go and watch the people in the front. Then he runs up to the front and then he comes back and then he goes and watch the people in the back. And then he comes back up to us again. So when we were running at 10K, he was running at 15K, something like that, 16K. And he wasn't even tired. It looks so cool when runners run. And when people that recruit, it looks very cool. When people that build, continues building, it looks very cool. And you sometimes feel jealousy towards those people. But you can be the same. It's just about grit. You have the vision, you have the idea, you have the dream, and then you commit to it, and then you keep on pushing to the top of the hill. So it's month close. How do we push to the top of the hill? Well, in team building is about watching and making sure every single person in your team that can possibly get Zinzinon for free gets Zinzinon for free. That's pushing the cart to the top of the hill. It's about watching the people that can have ECB, get ECB and qualify for ECBX. It's watching people that can be 18 pro team, top team, and above, and make sure that they close out the month as that. It's watching your bronzes end it with bronze instead of below. Silvers ended as silver, gold ended at gold, and executive end the month at executive and not below. So it's about closing out the month and then getting ready for May, which is ECBX month, to run with everyone, to have them go to their high rank, or having them go to a new rank, especially when they are on the lower ranks. It's very easy to rank advance in the ECBX months. And then keep doing this. And like Kristen, she has been doing a good job. She sponsors somebody new in Asia, and she's got grit on Asia. Keeps on bringing in people. It's not easier to build in Asia, but the day we get it right, Asia is going to be bigger. It's much easier to build in Norway. It's much easier to build in Sweden, much easier to build in Finland. But the day you get a billion country right, if we get China right, it's going to be a lot bigger. The day we get India right, it's going to get bigger. It's not easier. It's actually many, many times more difficult. But the day we get it right is going to be bigger. That's what I said when we launched Germany. The day we get Germany right, it's going to be bigger. And today, Germany is number one. And then I've said since 2014, the day we get the US market right, it's going to be bigger than Germany. And US is about to pass Germany. It's going to happen by the end of this year or by next year. US is going to be a ton bigger than Germany because it's a bigger market. So when you push the cart to the top of the hill in Norway, it's easier because you become visible a lot sooner. But to push it to the top of the hill in the US, it's more difficult. It takes a lot to be visible. If we did the same sales in Norway, like this month, that we do in the US, our sales in Norway would be so big that we would be as big as all the other MLM companies probably bunched together this month. So obviously that's going to be hard to do in Norway. But that's in the US. We're doing that in the US, but in the US we're a tiny, tiny, tiny little company. So we're not even visible over there. We've just not begun yet. So that's the message. Close out the month. And then it's not about 1 month. It's about 20 years. That makes all the difference. So for those that want 20 years to know, want to own a share that went up 100 times, well, then you got to do like Thomas. You got to buy the shares and then keep on to them for a very long period of time. I think you got yours in 2011, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so he got his in 2011. So that was a good year. So now you're 14 years in. If you keep them until 2036, is that the year? No, 2039, that's the year. Maybe we managed to do it one more time. Would be amazing if we did that. Thank you, guys. Happy month close. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Tack Örjan.